story today was called The Unexpected Journey That Is Life, and I've sat in the corner feeling extremely inspired by everyone I've heard today. Some common themes that have come out for me already, make the most of the opportunities that come your way, stay positive, make things happen, anything is possible. And part of the unexpected journey for me this year started with winning the Asian Women Achievement Award, that then led to me meeting Samantha Cameron for tea at 10 Downing Street, and then I got asked to speak on BBC London 94.9 about what it means to be a role model, how important role models are, and I don't know who it was exactly, but I might say Shanell or Moira, who heard me, dialing in all the way from rural India, and asked me to be part of the Living History exhibition, and I feel very honoured to be. Maybe not technically black, or we've already talked about what that term even means, but an Asian of Indian origin. And I think my most recent exciting thing, I've got to say actually I find it quite exciting, being part of the Living History exhibition, looking at myself, and then taking a photo of myself next to myself. I can relate to that. But just last Friday I got invited to go to the Youth Education and Commonwealth Conference that Malala Yousafzai attended, and I met the Queen. And I didn't think I'd feel quite so excited by that, but I really was, and we already know the candles can relate to that. And when I was coining this phrase, The Unexpected Journey That Is Life, it came to me last Monday when I went to do a talk at a school in Tower Hamlets. And the point I wanted to make to the children I spoke to was that, I didn't know any of this stuff was going to happen to me earlier in the year. Forget about, when I was 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Therefore, think about what lies ahead. So I'll start with where I started. So, London born and bred. My parents came to the UK in 1967, and like many of your parents, had a really, really tough time for a variety of reasons, despite the fact they were highly educated. So my dad was a chartered electrical engineer, my mother was a senior science geneticist, and was really looking to kind of study her PhD, but they struggled and they did the best they could. I guess that then it wasn't quite the struggle they maybe experienced 20 years prior through the partition of India, where they were uprooted and left, lost everything and had to kind of rebuild their lives. But for me, living from there, the best they could do was, rented a council flat in council estates. That's where I was brought up. Went to a state school, Camden School for Girls, and at school was the thing I most remember. Loving maths, that was my thing. Probably drilled into me by my father, who was sitting over there with a camera in his hand. That's lovely father. But, it was my parents, and that's something that comes through today. My parents that were always so supportive of me, despite the fact that I was a really naughty child, and every parents' evening, it was like, she is far too talkative, and she needs to stop, disrupting other people in the class, and, that was my story. And maybe I say this to children like last week, but I didn't work as hard as I should have, so despite the fact that GCSEs perhaps are maybe slightly easier than A-levels, so I came away with 5 A stars and 6 A's, and I thought, that means that I can do the same in A-level without working hard at all, and that was not the case at all. And I distinctly remember my physics teacher saying to me, you will not get an A grade in physics, and that will haunt you for the rest of your life, and you'll be really embarrassed to tell people, and I was like, nah. And then I came away with 2 B's and 2 C's, which you can imagine for my father was the end of my career in my life. He was like, you're going nowhere now. What are you going to do for yourself? You've got to go through clearing. And I was like, oh my God, that's devastating. I wanted to go to Warwick University and read computer science. That's not happening for me. But that for me, in terms of a big lesson, that was, a big thing for me as an 18-year-old to say, actually, I do have capability here. It doesn't matter that I've got these grades that are now attached and associated to me. I can still go out and get a good degree. And I got a first my maths degree at Southampton University. And I guess for that was really thinking about, don't let setbacks get in the way. And that's, something we can all relate to every single day when we are feeling so low and so down about, some setback. But there's always another happy high around the corner. The happy high probably comes with some hard work, but it's there nonetheless. So that was the first thing for me. Stayed at university, did a master's in operational research and finance, which took me to India. And perhaps one thing I haven't said already is that my parents, very, very richly patriotic, despite living here for the reason that they brought me and my sister a doctor up here and wanted to stay and look after us. But going back to India every single year since I was very tiny. So still, developing that love and that understanding of India throughout university. And then came the point to think about, well, what am I going to do with my life? And maybe maths, I thought, I'd be an accountant or something like that. And I went to an interview with the SEMA, Chartered Management Accountancy, and I realised that wasn't for me. And this lovely thing called Teach First was around. Teach First is getting undergraduates who wouldn't necessarily think about going into teaching to go into challenging schools in inner city, like London environments like I was. So I chose Teach First, taught at Marlborough School for Girls in East London, and in my second year of teaching I was given an opportunity to start a school project. There was a competition associated with it. That was also one of the drivers that got me to think about going ahead and building this project. And what I did was connected my students in London with a rural school in West Bengal. And why did I want to do that? I really wanted my students to get a sense of, what is outside in the wider world? What does it mean to live in a rural community? How can we be a global citizen? How can we think about business maybe in a social context and think about a charitable aim? And through that, set up a school partnership programme, got basically students in the UK to go through an enterprise programme, learning about their partner school in West Bengal. It was, I guess, in some context of success, and I won the Teach First School project competition, and then started to think about what it would mean to scale up. And I guess at that point, I hadn't really thought about setting up a business or setting up a charity or anything like that. I certainly was always thinking about my students as well, loving maths, giving that inspiration to students. One of the things I distinctly remember as being a teacher is having bottom set maths class where everyone was predicted, E's and F's. And one of the things that, another thing my father taught me, do not feel inhibited by a label that anyone else can give you, particularly at school, like predicted grades, which are, a torment to our children who believe that maybe that predicted grade is the grade that they are only that they're capable of. And I was there going, no. I can unpick maths for you. We can learn to love maths together. And one of the stories was a child that was predicted an E, and for her getting a C in GCSE maths was amazing. But all of these things, me thinking to myself, what can I go and go on to continue to do in the field of education I'm already beginning to feel really passionate about, and maybe I didn't think that I would be in this space, playing in this space. But at the same time, I had this niggling father maybe as well, and saying, what's Teach First? And why would you want to be a teacher? Not all, he didn't say it all the time, but he did think it, I think. So then I was like, okay, well I've got this opportunity to do an internship to my first and second year of teaching. How about I go and, kind of pick one of the great sponsors of Teach First. So Accenture was one of them, and actually, funnily enough, my dad did say, what is Accenture? That does not sound like something that's floating on the market, so I'm not interested to hear about it. Until he saw like a massive advert in the Times, and was like, my daughter, I think, is going to work for Accenture. And it's like, advertising, that's what does it. So I started at Accenture, I did the internship and got accepted. Now, here for me was a bit of a dilemma. So this was now July 2009, I'd done 2 years of teaching, I also had 6 months off travelling around the world, learning about myself, thinking about, trying to think about who I am, and set up Rise in July 2009, and very much building on the notion of how can we, as global citizens, support children in rural India who perhaps are at risk of dropping out of school, and that was, my passion. But I was starting Accenture, extremely competitive. I also wanted to do very well there, and I was in America for 2 weeks of training, and training maybe in some professions seems like an absolute loss, but let me tell you, Accenture training is not. You have to be up by about 6, in straight, at 7:30 all day, you're in classes learning, and there I had like a charity starting, and I was still trying to do my training, and I just burnt out, and I really hit low. But the thing that picked me back up was, the solution I had at the time was to go for some career sessions around, what is the path that you're going to choose here? And what it came down to was, what are my values? So what is it that I thrive on when I'm at Accenture? Okay, I really, really love the fact that it's multinational, that we're working with so many high-profile clients. The calibre of people there is, uncomparable to many, many organisations. But Rise, for me, is something, giving back to the community, really relating to my roots, something that my parents have tried very, very hard to instill in me, and making a difference to the educational setting when I was so fortunate to be able to go to school and have an education myself. Well, I I can't give up either one of them.
That seems really clear to me. But for me, it was like, well, that's it then. I have to do both. So that's what I set out to do. So in January 2010, that's when I made the decision that it would be both. And I'm aware of the fact that I've been talking for quite some time now. So, but all I really want to say is that in the spirit of, I think one of the points that came about was, you know, everyone that's in this room, let's talk, let's collaborate. Let's connect, let's get to know each other, and let's continue the conversation. So I would welcome an email, get in touch with me. I would love to tell you more about Rise, but if you'd like to find out more, please visit any one of those sites. And I think in kind of net conclusion, it really is about what we just talked about. Get those opportunities. If they don't come to you, go out and grab them. And I hope you have a splendid, unexpected journey in your life. Thank you.